one of these letters to the editor. The story here, Fred, but I'm afraid it's not a very good one. I'm not at all sure it's the kind of story our readers would like. Listen to this. Dear editor, usually I agree with your editorials, but your call for civil defense volunteers was nonsense. If this city is attacked, my plans are made, and they don't include waiting around to get killed. I'm going to take my family to a place in the country where we'll be safe. I think I'm as patriotic as the next guy, but I'd be pretty dumb to remain in this city when those bombs start falling. Name doesn't matter.
Take to the Hills, huh? Another member of the Take to the Hills fraternity.
Seems to be quite a few of them.
Yes, I'm afraid there are. And the worst of it is that most of them are intelligent people. Good citizens, if you like. But they've made up their minds without thinking. They're letting fear push them.
It's pushing them into something pretty close to treason. Thank God most people don't feel that way. But enough of them do to make it a serious problem.
You know, there's really nothing to be gained by turning tail and running after an enemy attack. First of all, the highways would be about the most dangerous place you could be. And second, mass evacuation of cities just doesn't work. Most people don't know that for the reason that they've never thought much about it. And the third reason is the simplest of all. If war comes and we desert our cities, we've lost the war.
If only we could help these letter writers see it that way. We must make them realize there must be no taking to the hills. The civil defense people are just being realistic and not planning mass evacuations. The roads have to be kept open for rescue and for firefighting equipment. That means every car which is not officially authorized will have to be stopped and moved out of the way. As long as I live, I won't forget what happened in the last war when some European people took the hills. I saw miles after miles of refugees trying to get away from cities under attack. All they did was choke up the road, so hardly anything could move. Even they couldn't get very far. This happened many, many times and in many different cities. It could happen in our cities. If this were tomorrow instead of yesterday, if this were our town and you or someone you loved were trapped inside of it, waiting frantically for help, that help would never come. The ambulances, rescue trucks, vehicles carrying supplies and equipment would be stopped cold in their tracks. They could never get through to help the injured, put out fires, bring plasma, bandages, and thousands of other things vitally needed in an enemy attack.
We must realize that in modern warfare, city dwellers find themselves right in the front lines. After an attack, our first responsibility will be to keep our heads and get back to our jobs. For each of us has a job to do. And no matter what happens, the people of a city must be fed, clothed, supplied with electricity and heat. Running away from that duty would be desertion, pure and simple. In the Army, it would mean court-martial. As a civilian, it would not only be treasonable, but it would mean having to live with the knowledge that in deserting your responsibility, you failed yourself, your family, your friends, your city.
Deserting our cities would be handing the enemy a victory far greater and less costly to them than they could ever achieve through bomb damage alone.
Their very idea in attacking our cities would be to destroy our will to fight. The enemy knows that a city deserted by its people is a city robbed of its power to resist, of its power to produce. The enemy knows, as we do, that in an American city of today, each of us depends on all the others. That directly or indirectly, each of our jobs depends on all the jobs of the others.
Our biggest job will be to continue putting out equipment and fighting gear our nation depends on. To desert would be to throw away our most feared weapon, America's power to produce.
There's no getting away from it. When the time comes, each one of us must stay in our cities and fight.
You know, a lot of people behind the Iron Curtain are wondering whether we can take it if we're attacked. They're carefully measuring our courage, our capacity to fight, our capacity for sacrifice. They think they have the answers. Well, you and I and every American has to examine their minds and hearts and come up with a few answers of their own. The question is, have Americans got the guts? Have you got the guts?